Life presents us with challenges beyond our control, people who exit without a word, situations that veer off course, and opportunities that slip away just when you thought you were on the right path. In those moments, you find yourself battling fiercely, desperately trying to alter what is no longer yours to change. But today, a powerful message emerges. Release your grip. As long as you strive to manage the unmanageable, you invite anxiety, frustration, and fear into your life. Remember, you weren't meant to shoulder it all. You are not omnipotent, and the weight of the world is not yours to bear. It's all on your shoulders. But here's the amazing part. You don't have to carry it alone. God is already in control. He sees what you can't see, understands what you can't comprehend, and is actively working behind the scenes. Even when it feels like everything is crumbling around you, ask yourself how much longer you plan to cling to what you cannot alter. Now is the moment to release. Now is the moment to embrace trust. It's the perfect opportunity to release your grip and witness the incredible things that unfold when you surrender control. Before you proceed, I invite you to take a moment for something impactful. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Mr. Luce, I recognize the things beyond my control, and I have faith in you to acknowledge them as well. Today marks the moment you choose to release what has become too heavy to carry. Let's put it on paper and collaborate on this journey. Psalm 55, verse 22, cast your burden upon the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will not allow the righteous to fall forever. There are moments in life when the burden of our concerns feels overwhelming. We find ourselves engulfed in fear, anxiety, and pain, questioning whether relief will ever come. Yet, in the heart of within that storm lies a timeless promise, a compelling reminder that we are never alone. This verse provides a crucial insight for navigating tough times. Place your burdens on Jehovah, and he will support you. He will not allow the righteous to remain in despair forever. This isn't merely a pleasant suggestion or an inspiring quote to display. It's a genuine call to release control and to stop holding on to what no longer serves us. In the face of what weighs us down, we were not meant to shoulder our burdens in isolation. Divine support is there to sustain, strengthen, and guide us. However, the crucial point is that we must learn to release those burdens. While this may seem straightforward, it's often where many struggle, and let's be honest about that. How often have we approached God, saying, "Sir, I entrust you with my problem," only to find ourselves grappling with it again the very next day? We are equally or worse worrying about the same thing. It is because in the bottom we never let go. We really keep clinging to fear. We keep trying to find our own solutions instead of fully trusting that God is in control. Imagine it as if you were carrying a backpack full of stones. Each stone represents a worry, economic problems, diseases, family conflicts, uncertainty of the future, and God is in front of you with his hands outstretched, saying, "Give them to me, I will carry them for you." But instead of to deliver them, what we do is shake our heads and say, "No, sir, I can do it alone," and we continue walking exhausted, carrying more weight than we can bear. It would not be easier to let go of that burden. God does not promise that life will be easy, but he does guarantee us that we will not have to face it alone. He will sustain us. That is, he will give us the strength, the support, and the resources necessary to move forward. He will not let us fall, and if we fall, it won't leave us lying there forever. Consider the tale of Joseph in the Old Testament. His own brothers betrayed him, selling him into slavery and leaving him behind. Instead of spending his life in lamentation, feeling victimized and questioning why he had to endure such suffering, he chose to trust and maintain his faith. He surrendered his burdens to God, and in time he was elevated to become one of the most powerful men in Egypt. We all face moments when life feels overwhelmingly heavy. Perhaps today, You find yourself in the depths of despair, betrayed, rejected, or humiliated. Maybe financial burdens are suffocating you, or illness has cast a shadow over your home. Yet, there's an undeniable truth you must hold on to. You won't remain in this darkness forever. Every trial serves a purpose, and though it may not be evident today, brighter days are ahead. When you place your trust in God and surrender your worries, you'll witness how everything starts to align perfectly. However, that calls for trust, a belief that He is indeed at work, even when your eyes have yet to perceive it, and the courage to release your fears. In moments of despair and resentment, I find the strength to declare, Lord, I may not grasp the situation, yet I place my trust in your divine guidance. A lot of individuals have faith in God, yet they struggle to place their trust in Him. There is a significant distinction between the two. Believing in God means acknowledging His existence, while trusting God involves surrendering control of your life to Him, finding peace in His promises, and realizing that even in the darkest times, He remains sovereign. Here's the remarkable truth. When you truly surrender your burdens to Him, you experience a sense of peace, not because the problem vanishes right away, but because you cease the struggle. True rest comes from the assurance that God is actively working for you. Consider the profound words of Jesus in Matthew 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This is not merely a promise of better sleep. It's an invitation to experience a deep, soul-nourishing peace that transcends understanding. Today, I challenge you to reflect. Are you ready to release your burdens? Are you prepared to stop battling alone and place your trust in God? It may not be easy at first. Your mind might resist relinquishing control. But remember, God is not a bystander in your life. He is the central figure in your narrative. No matter the size of your challenges, God is greater. No matter how bleak the path appears, He is the guiding light. No matter how fragile you feel, He will uplift you. This is His unwavering promise. God does not fail. As stated in 1 Peter 5, verse 7, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. How often have you experienced that overwhelming anxiety where the burden of your concerns feels so heavy that it's hard to catch your breath? It's as if you're trapped in a tempest, with each negative thought crashing down like a massive wave, pulling you further into despair. Yet there is a truth that has the power to transform everything. God is taking care of you. It is not just a nice phrase. It is not a motivational idea that sounds good in a cup of coffee. It is a real promise. It is a fierce battle, an invisible enemy that robs us of peace, sleep, and joy. But God, it tells us clearly, throw all your anxiety on me, not a part, not just what you consider most important, everything, absolutely everything. But here's the problem. Many of us don't know how to let go of that burden. We cling to our fears as if they were part of us. We believe that worrying doesn't make us responsible, that thinking about the problem over and over again will give us a magic solution. And without realizing it, we become prisoners of our own mind. God is telling us not to carry this weight alone. Remember that we are not designed to endure the stresses of life without their help. Imagine that you are carrying a backpack full of stones, and someone offers to carry it for you, but instead of giving it to them, you decide to continue with it because you believe that it is your responsibility. It makes sense now, and yet that is exactly what we do with our worries. God invites you to surrender your anxiety to Him, assuring you that you can do so with confidence. You are not just a number in the universe or another face in the crowd. You are cherished and valuable. God pays attention to every detail of your life. Consider what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6. Look at the birds of the air. They don't sow or reap, nor do they gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you worth much more than they? If God cares for the birds, providing for their needs daily, how much more will He care for you? Here lies the essential truth. Entrusting our anxieties to God doesn't imply that our problems vanish into thin air. Rather, it signifies that we no longer carry them in solitude. It reflects our faith in God, believing that He is actively addressing what lies beyond our control. In a period marked by intense persecution of Christians, Peter penned these powerful words. His audience faced fear and uncertainty, living under the looming threat of arrest or death. Yet, rather than urging them to rely on their own strength or seek self-sufficient solutions, he encouraged them to cast all their anxieties upon God. This reveals an incredible truth. Regardless of the size of your problem, God surpasses it. No matter how dark the night may seem, God remains the light, and despite your fears, He is always in control. The world instills a sense of worry, conveying that anxiety, while stress is often seen as a part of life, there is a remarkable alternative that awaits us through divine guidance. Living in peace, trusting that He's in control, doesn't imply keep in mind that showing indifference or irresponsibility equates to fulfilling our obligations while relinquishing control over the results to others. How often have you found yourself worrying about an event that never actually happened? How many restless nights have you endured over matters that have already been resolved by a higher power? Anxiety acts like a thief, taking away precious moments, draining our energy, and depriving us of the joy found in life's blessings. Yet, a glimmer of hope remains, a path forward exists. It all begins with a choice, a leap of faith. Choosing to trust God and releasing your anxiety into His hands brings about a profound transformation within you. It's not that your problems vanish instantly. Rather, you come to understand that you are not fighting this battle alone. God is not merely an observer. He is not a figure who remains detached, watching your life unfold without taking action. He attends to your every need, comforts you in every tear, and supports you through every seemingly impossible situation. Today, in this very moment, I invite you to take on a challenge. Embrace the opportunity to release your anxiety. It's time to stop battling on your own and invite a higher power to handle what lies beyond your control. It might feel challenging initially. Your mind may cling to fear, but keep this in mind. God is already in control. Even when the storm rages and you can't see the light, He continues to grow stronger. Regardless of your worries about what lies ahead, He is already present. In moments of feeling overwhelmed, remember that God cares deeply for you. When you embrace this truth and choose to live by it, you unlock a profound peace that the world simply cannot offer, a peace that transcends all understanding. Psalms 46, verse 10, verse 3, "Be calm and recognize my divinity. I will be lifted high among the nations. I will be honored on earth." Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and step back from the relentless pace of a world that never slows down. In a society that urges us to act, to fret, and to maintain control, there lies a divine invitation to embrace stillness. But what does it truly mean to be still? It transcends mere idleness or turning a blind eye to our challenges. It embodies a profound choice rooted in trust. It's about releasing fear, anxiety, and despair while recognizing the true nature of the divine. We find ourselves in an era where uncertainty looms large, craving immediate answers and quick fixes, seeking assurances that everything will be all right. When our expectations go unmet, we often spiral into panic and worry, scrambling for solutions through sheer will. Yet, the message we receive is one of surrender. Cease the struggle, come to know me, and place your trust in me, for here lies peace. The reality is this: true knowledge of God eludes you when you hold tightly to control. His peace remains out of reach. When you find yourself tirelessly attempting to mend every situation, remember that it's time to pause, release your grip, and recognize that God remains sovereign, even amidst the chaos surrounding you. Amidst the turmoil that envelopes you, the divine presence of God endures. Consider the tale of Moses and the Israelites as they fled from Egypt, with Pharaoh's army pursuing them in a furious chase behind, while an uncertain future loomed ahead. The Red Sea loomed as an unyielding obstacle, providing no avenue for escape or human intervention. What words did God share with Moses during that pivotal moment? Rest assured, divine support is on your side, bringing you peace and comfort. This verse captures its true essence. God fights our battles when we learn to be still in Him. It's not in our despair or when we attempt to solve everything on our own. It's in our trust in ceasing the struggle of our flesh and resting in His sovereignty. The incredible truth is that God doesn't require our assistance to be. He doesn't need our worries to take action. He is already God, already in control, and has already penned the conclusion of the story. While we perceive chaos, God perceives purpose. In the midst of a storm, He recognizes the process shaping us. When we encounter a closed road, He envisions the miracle on the horizon. Understanding this comes when we choose stillness, when we opt to wait instead of acting out of fear, and when we lift our hands in surrender, proclaiming, "Lord, I trust in you." Consider the second part of the verse. I will rise above the nations, lifted high. I will stand on the earth. When the moment arrives, His glory will shine for all to witness. He will be lifted high on earth. His strength will be unmistakable, and we will reflect and say, "Now, I understand. In this moment, I see the purpose of God's actions." To reach that destination, we must embrace patience, cultivate trust, and find stillness within ourselves. Remember, anxiety won't draw us nearer to the divine, and despair won't hasten His purpose. Only through faith can we truly encounter His peace. Consider the words of Jesus in John 14, verse 27, I bestow upon you my peace, a gift of tranquility I share with you. I offer it to you in a way that's truly unique. Keep your heart at ease and let go of fear. The world presents us with presents a peace contingent on circumstances, wealth, stability, and favorable conditions. In contrast, the peace of God remains unaffected by external factors. It is a tranquility you can experience even in the midst of the chaos of the storm. Uncertainty looms large. It is only through this that we can discover true peace. In moments of stillness, we come to recognize the presence of the divine. Today, I invite you to embrace a challenge. Are you prepared to release control? Are you ready to cease the struggle and let God take the reins in your life? Regardless of the storm you find yourself in, regardless of the size of the obstacle, regardless of the fear it may invoke, God remains steadfast. When you truly grasp this truth, when you choose to find your peace in Him, and when you embrace stillness, you will encounter a profound experience that transcends all understanding. The divine peace that surpasses all understanding, as highlighted in Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the thoughts that I have toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you the end you hope for. Take a moment to reflect on this. God has a plan for your life, one that is not improvised or contingent on circumstances. It's a perfect, detailed plan conceived before your birth. Yet here lies the challenge. Often, when we find ourselves in the midst of trials, when everything around us seems to crumble, we question whether God truly knows what He's doing. Frustration sets in, doubt creeps in, and feelings of abandonment arise. We may start to believe that God's purpose for us has gone off course, that we've somehow derailed it, or that hope is lost. It is in these very moments that this verse serves as a steadfast anchor, reminding us that God clearly states, "I know the thoughts I have about you." He doesn't say, "I'm figuring out what to do with your life." He doesn't express, "I'm going to improvise and see what unfolds." He's already in the loop. Moreover, he already possesses the plan. Moreover, he understands what you're going through. But the key takeaway is this: focus on thoughts of peace, not negativity. Perhaps you find yourself navigating a challenging chapter. There may be aspects of your life that feel unclear. What God is allowing in this moment is not meant to destroy you, but rather to guide you toward the purpose he has in store for you. Explore the rich history of the people of Israel. At the time these words were penned, they found themselves in exile. They were captured and brought to Babylon. Separated from their land and distant from the comforts of home, they felt as though everything was beyond reach. They felt abandoned, convinced their narrative had reached its end. Yet amid the turmoil, a powerful message emerged. "I know the thoughts I have about you." At that moment, they were blind to the truth. They couldn't grasp the reality. Yet the divine foresight was already aware of what lay ahead. He understood the purpose behind it all. This exile was merely a chapter in their journey, leading them towards something far greater. You may find yourself in a similar situation today, feeling lost, as if your plans have crumbled and nothing aligns with your expectations. But remember this: there is a greater design at play. Everything is still under divine guidance. We perceive just a fragment of history, while the divine views the entirety. He envisions the start, the journey, and the conclusion, and that conclusion is not one of ruin. It is not one of failure. It is an ending brimming with hope. Check out Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8. "For my thoughts differ from your thoughts, and your paths are not my paths, declares Jehovah." We organize our lives with specific plans, believing that everything should unfold as we envision it. However, there is a greater perspective at play. He perceives what remains hidden from our view. He understands our true needs. He understands our genuine needs, even if we aren't fully aware of them at this moment. At times, we find ourselves on journeys that appear shrouded in darkness. He grants us passage through deserts. He keeps us waiting far beyond our desired time frame. However, this doesn't indicate a failure in his plan. Rather, it signifies that he is crafting something even greater. Consider the tale of Joseph, a young man brimming with ambition, who found himself betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and wrongfully imprisoned. After years of enduring pain, waiting and grappling with uncertainty, he may have felt abandoned by God. But what was truly unfolding in the divine plan? Ultimately, God not only liberated Joseph, but also raised him to a position of power for a purpose that surpassed his wildest dreams. Faith is about trusting in God, even when the situation is beyond our understanding. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 beautifully illustrates this, and we know that to those who love God, all things work together for good, not just the good, but all things, including those that seem unjust today, those that cause pain, and those that defy understanding. Today, I invite you to embrace a challenge. Consider trusting that God has a plan, even if it diverges from your own expectations. The narrative of your life may not be unfolding as you envisioned, but that doesn't signify a failure of purpose. Rather, it suggests that something greater is in the works, something beyond your wildest dreams. When the moment arrives, as you reflect on your journey, you'll come to understand that every challenge, every moment of sorrow, and every instance of patience served a greater purpose, and that purpose, it's reassuring to know that God is not merely watching your life unfold. He is the one crafting your narrative. And even if the conclusion isn't clear today, trust in the journey. In the midst of today's unpredictability, one truth remains clear. His plan for you is flawless. Embrace that trust, and you'll discover a peace that transcends understanding. Stanza 5, commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will act. Dedicate your path to the Lord and place your trust in Him, and He will act. Have you ever found yourself in a moment of uncertainty, grappling with tough decisions, feeling the weight of the future on your shoulders, and encountering challenges that seem impossible to overcome at every turn? Amidst the turmoil, a divine message awaits you. Clara, place your path in His hands. Have faith in Him. He will act. But here's the challenge. Often we desire God's intervention in our lives while hesitating to relinquish control. We seek His assistance, yet cling tightly to our own plans, our logic, and what we perceive as best. When outcomes don't align with our expectations, we spiral into despair, doubt, and fear. God isn't asking you to understand everything before you place your trust in Him. He's not saying to wait until everything makes sense before you commit your way to Him. Instead, He's urging you to surrender your plans, your dreams, and your burdens now. The crucial point is that it's not merely about entrusting yourself while trying to figure things out on your own. We often find ourselves questioning whether God truly acts on our behalf. He will fulfill the commands of God. He doesn't suggest. Perhaps He does something. He doesn't express. I'll take some time to consider it. He assures you that action will be taken, that efforts will be made, and that movement will occur in your life, but it requires your faith. Take a moment to consider the events surrounding Abraham. Despite the promise of offspring and the creation of a great nation, time went on and there was still no sign of fulfillment. What actions did Abraham take? He sought to aid God in bringing His promise to fruition. Rather than waiting for the Lord's perfect timing, he took matters into his own hands and made a decision. He fathered a son with Hagar, the servant of his wife, Sarah. That wasn't the plan laid out. Instead, something far greater awaited. When Abraham finally placed his trust and ceased his attempts to control the situation, God fulfilled His promise and blessed him with Isaac. This mirrors our own experiences. Often, we find ourselves rushing God, desiring things to unfold on our timeline and in our preferred manner. Yet, God's timing is flawless. True trust in Him requires patience. Consider Proverbs 3 verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. Acknowledge Him in all your ways, and He will make your paths straight. This teaches us to trust even in uncertainty, even when the path ahead seems unclear. Even when everything appears to contradict your expectations, there remains an element of uncertainty, for God is infallible and never falters. Consider Peter when Jesus invited him to walk on water. As long as his eyes were on Jesus and he held on to his trust, he accomplished the extraordinary. However, the instant he shifted his focus to the waves, the wind, and the surrounding peril, his faith wavered, and he started to sink. The profound lesson here is clear. Your faith in God must not be swayed by your surroundings. It should not rely on whether the situation is advantageous or not. True faith isn't just about trusting when everything seems perfect. It's about maintaining that belief and trust even when uncertainty looms large. When you place your complete trust in God, He handles everything else. He opens doors where there seem to be none, provides abundantly, and even in the midst of challenges, He delivers on His promises at just the right time. Consider the words of Isaiah in chapter 41, verse 10. Fear not, for I am by your side. Do not lose heart, for I am your God, always here to support you. I will consistently support you with the strength of my justice. You are not alone on this journey. Divine support surrounds you. Embrace the opportunity to release fear, doubt, and anxiety. Trust in your timing, your purpose, and your unique plan. Today, I invite you to reflect. Have you truly dedicated your life to God, or are you merely offering Him fragments while clinging to your own desires? The reality is this: true divine presence cannot fully unfold in your life when you cling to the need for control over every aspect. Without trust in His guidance, reaching your desired destination will remain elusive. When you truly release your worries and embrace the unknown, trusting that while you may not understand, there is a higher power that does everything, shifts and transforms in ways that align with a greater purpose, regardless of how daunting the future or the circumstances may appear. Trust in God, and He will make it happen. When He does, you'll come to understand His plan. It exceeded all your wildest dreams. Stanza 6, Psalms 34, verse 17, when the righteous call out, Jehovah listens and rescues them from every trouble. Have you ever found yourself trapped in a problem that feels impossible to escape? How many restless nights have you endured? Your thoughts swirling with concerns, questioning whether God truly listens to you. In the heart of the storm, when fear and anxiety take hold, a profound question echoes within us. Is God listening? The answer is a resounding yes. God hears you, and not only hears you, but delivers you not from some anxieties of all. This verse is not only a consolation, it is a promise. God hears every prayer, every cry, every tear shed in silence. He is not indifferent to your pain. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not indifferent. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not indifferent. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not a passive spectator of your suffering. He is not hear and answer. But here is the key. The righteous cry out. They do not remain silent. They do not resign themselves to anguish. They do not try to solve everything in their own strength. They cry out to God. Look at what happened to the people of Israel when they were slaves in Egypt. Years of suffering, injustice, oppression. It seemed that God was silent, but Exodus chapter 3 verse 7 says, well, I have seen the affliction of my people who is in Egypt, and I have heard their cry because of their oppressors, for I have known their anguishes. God not only saw what they were experiencing, He heard their cry, and when the time came, He delivered them with power. Maybe today you feel like them. Maybe you think that God has forgotten about you, that your prayers bounce against heaven without answer. But God is not deaf to your pain. He listens, He knows, and in His perfect time, He acts, because anguish has an expiration date. The problem has an end. The pain will not last forever. God is already preparing your liberation. But here comes the question. You are crying out because there is something powerful in crying out to God. It is not the same to pray mechanically than to cry out with all your heart. It is not the same to talk to God as to seek Him in desperation, with to be sure that only He has the answer. Look at what Bartimaeus did, the blind man who was on the side of the road when Jesus was passing by. When he heard that it was Jesus who was coming, he did not remain silent. He did not wait for someone to give him permission. He shouted with all his might, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And the people tried to silence him. They looked at him with contempt. They told him to be quiet, but he shouted even louder. And then Jesus stopped, because the cry of the righteous stops heaven, no matter how many voices they will make you doubt. No matter if the world says God doesn't listen, when you cry out in faith, God answers. But here's something else. God not only hear, but Libra. Look at Daniel in the lion's den. There was no escape. There was no human way to get out of there alive. But God shut His mouth, not because Daniel had the strength to fight them, but because God answered their cry. And so it is with you. Maybe today you are surrounded by lions. Maybe you feel like there's no way out. But here is the truth. God is still the same God who delivered Daniel, who delivered Israel, who healed Bartimaeus, is the God who is with you now. No matter how great the anguish, no matter how impossible the situation may seem, God already has the answer. But you need to cry out. You need to seek him in faith with the certainty that he will not leave you in anguish forever. And when you cry out, when you seek his face with all your heart, when you decide to trust that he is already at work, even if you don't see him, then the impossible happens, the chains break, the walls fall, the storm calms down, because God, he is not a distant God. He is a Father who listens and acts. So today, I want to ask you something. Have you cried out with all your heart, or have you just talked to God as a routine? Because the cry changes things. Fervent prayer moves the sky, and God is ready to answer you. Just wait, trust, because when you least expect it, he will deliver you. Verse 7, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, and I will be able to answer you. He has said, my grace is enough for you, for my power is perfected in weakness. Therefore, I will gladly glory rather in my abilities, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Have you ever felt weak? Have you ever felt that you can't take it anymore? That you have tried everything and it just doesn't work? The frustration of wanting to move forward and feeling that you get stuck. The pain of fighting against a proof, that the discouragement of seeing that despite praying and striving, the battle is still there. That same thing happened to Paul. He had what he called a thorn in the flesh, a constant problem, an obstacle that did not go away. We do not know exactly what it was, but we do know something. It caused him pain, suffering. It weakened him, and so Paul did what any of us would do. He prayed, he cried out to God, he asked him to take away that which tormented him, not once, not twice, 3 times, and God's answer was surprising. He did not tell him that he would heal him. He did not tell him that he would free him from his suffering. He said something even more powerful. My grace is enough, because my power is perfected in weakness. That it was not the answer Paul expected, but it was the answer he needed, because here is the key. God does not always take the battle away. Sometimes, instead of removing the problem, he gives you the strength to overcome it. We want God to remove the obstacle, but God often uses that obstacle to make us stronger, to teach us to depend on him, so that in our weakness his power is seen. Because if everything were easy, if we never had struggles, if we never felt weakness, how would we learn to trust God? Look at what happened with Gideon. God called him to deliver Israel from their enemies, but instead of giving them a huge army, he took soldiers from thousands. He warred them to only 300. Why? Because God wanted to prove that victory did not depend on human strength, but on its power. And the same thing happens with you. Perhaps today, you might feel like you're lacking capacity, strength, resources, but here's the truth. Your strength isn't what matters. What truly counts is your willingness. In moments of weakness, that's when the divine shines through. Consider Moses, a man who stuttered and carried a troubled past, yet was chosen to lead an entire nation. Look at David, a humble shepherd, the least among his brothers, who became a king. And then there's Peter, an impulsive man with many flaws, transformed into the foundation of the church. Remember, it's not the capable that are called, it's those who are called that are equipped. That's why Paul embraced his weaknesses. He recognized a profound truth. In your weakest moments, when you feel you can't go on, that's when you truly understand your limitations. You are not in control. That's when God acts. It is easy to depend on God when everything is going well, but true faith is shown when in the trial you decide to trust. When you choose to say, Lord, I don't understand why I am going through this, but I trust that your grace is enough. Because your grace is, you don't need more money, more strength, more skills. You just need his grace. God's grace is not just a favor undeserved, is his strength in action. It's his love sustaining itself. It's his power carrying you beyond what you could accomplish on your own. Look at what Isaiah chapter 40 verse 29 says. He gives strength to the weary and multiplies the strength to the one who has none. That means God won't leave you in your weakness. He won't leave you defeated. But you need to learn to depend on Him, because as long as you keep trying to do it all with your own strength, you will continue to wear yourself out. But when you decide to trust, when you let His grace be enough, then everything changes. The circumstances may be the same, the problem may still be there, but you are no longer the same, because in your weakness God will become strong. So today I want to challenge you. You are willing to accept God's grace? You are ready to stop fighting with your own strength and allow God to work in you. No matter what you're facing, no matter how broken you feel, God has already promised that His grace is sufficient. When you yield to Him and allow His strength to shine through your weaknesses, you'll discover that what once felt unattainable transforms into a powerful testimony. It's not about your capabilities, it's about the incredible work God will accomplish within you, as highlighted in Deuteronomy 31 verse 8. And the Lord goes before you, He will be with you, He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not be afraid or intimidated. Have you ever felt afraid of what is coming? That fear that paralyzes you, that makes you doubt, that fills your mind with unanswered questions. What will happen to my life? And if things do not go well? And if I fail? We live in a world where uncertainty is part of the day by day, and many times it makes us feel alone, vulnerable, without direction. But here is the truth. God has already gone before you. You are not walking blindly. You are not moving forward on an unknown path without guidance. God was already there. He already prepared the way. He already opened the doors. He removed the obstacles that you don't need to face and left those that will make you stronger. Because God is not only with us in, life goes before us. When the people of Israel were about to enter the promised land, they were afraid Moses would no longer be with them, and the uncertainty of what was to come filled them with fear. But God gave them this promise: I will go before you, I will not leave you, I will not abandon you. And that same promise is still for you today. Maybe you are facing a new challenge, a new one, work, an important decision, an unexpected change, and fear wants to convince you that you won't make it, that you're alone, that you don't have what it takes. But God tells you not to be afraid or intimidated, because fear is a liar. Fear wants you to believe that you can't, to stop, to give in. But God hasn't called you to live in fear. Look at what He said to Joshua in the 1 verse 9. See that I command you to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. God does not promise a life without challenges, but He does promise that you will never face them. Only He will be with you. Not when all is well, only not when you feel strong. He will be with you in the darkest of times, in the most difficult seasons, in the days when you will be that you feel like you can't take it anymore, because God is not a God who abandons you when things get tough. He's the God who fights for you. Look what happened to the disciples in the storm. They were in the middle of the sea. The waves were pounding and the wind was fierce. Jesus wasn't in the boat, and they panicked. They thought they were going to die. But when everything Jesus came walking on the water, and Peter, in an act of faith, said to him, Sir, if it is you, command me to come to you on the waters. Jesus said, Come, and Peter began to walk. He did the impossible, but the moment he turned his eyes away from Jesus and began to focus on the storm, on the waves, on the wind, he began to sink. And here is the teaching. You look at the circumstances, fear sinks you. But when you look at God, fear disappears, because God has never left you. He has never let you go. He goes before you. Look at what Isaiah says, chapter 43, verse 2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And if the rivers will not drown you, when you pass through the fire, you will not be burned, nor will the flame burn in you. God does not promise that you will not. There will be rivers. There will be no fire, there will be no storms, but it does promise that you will be safe in the midst of them. And maybe right now you are in a storm. Maybe you feel that everything is out of control, that you see no way out. But God has already gone ahead of you. He has already prepared the way. You just have to trust, because here is the truth. God has never lost a battle, and He is not going to start with you, so don't stop. Don't let fear steal from you what God has prepared for you. Keep going, because the one who promised to be with you never fails. Verse 9, Psalms chapter 23 verse. For though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because you will be with me. Your rod and your silence will breathe me into me. There are times in life when fear paralyzes us. We walk through dark valleys, situations that we don't understand, tests that seem endless, those seasons in which everything seems to be against you, in which you feel that the pain does not stop, in which it seems that the light has gone out and there is no way out. David understood that. He knew what it was like to flee for his life, what it was to hide in caves, what it was to feel betrayal and abandonment, but still, in the midst of all, that he wrote these words, even though they have in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because fear is real, but it has no power over someone who trusts in God. God never promised that He would not go through. He said that everything would be easy, that life would be an unhindered path, but He did promise something, that we would not be alone, and that changes everything. Look at the story of the three Hebrew youths. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into a fiery furnace because they would not bow down to the king. It was a certain death situation. In a moment of despair, the king peered into the furnace, and instead of 3 men, he beheld 4. This powerful vision serves as a reminder that in our darkest trials, we are never alone. When we traverse the flames, divine presence walks alongside us. When we journey through the valleys, we are met with unwavering support, not mere observation. He strides alongside you from afar. He holds you, lifts you up, strengthens you. David didn't say, if I ever pass through the valley of the shadow of death. He didn't say maybe one day he will. He said, even though I walk, because dark valleys are part of life, but there is a difference between going through them with fear and going through them with the certainty that God is with you. Look at what happened to the disciples when they were in La Barca, and a storm arose. Jesus, I was with them, but they still panicked. The wind was strong. The waves were beating with fury, and they thought they were going to die, but Jesus was asleep. Why? Because when you have the assurance that God is with you, there is no reason to fear. The disciples woke him up in despair, and Jesus just got up and calmed the sea, and then asked them why they are afraid. Where is their faith? Because here, there is the truth. The presence of God does not mean that there will be no storms. It means that the storms will not be able to sink you. It means that even in the worst moment of your life, God is still in control. David also said, your rod and your silence will give me encouragement. And this is key, because the rod and the silent are tools of the shepherd. The rod is to protect the sheep from enemies. The silent is for to guide them. That means that God is not only with you, but also protects you and guides you. Sometimes we wonder why God allows us to go through certain trials, but what we don't see is that He is leading us to a better place. What seems like a dark valley is actually the path to something greater. Joseph was sold into slavery, imprisoned, unjustly forgotten for years, but God was guiding him, and in the end that dark valley led him to the purpose God had for him, to be governor of Egypt and to save His people. What today seems like a valley of the shadow of death, tomorrow will be the testimony of how God brought you forward, because no matter how dark the path is, God is the light that guides you. So, if today you feel that you are in that valley, if today you feel that the struggle is too great,